Chosen one, why do you keep waking up at 2:47 a.m. with your heart pounding like a war drum? Why does Sunday feel different this time, like the air itself is electric with something you can't name? Why has your soul been restless, pacing inside your chest like a caged lion waiting for release? You didn't stumble onto this message by accident. Your finger didn't randomly tap this screen. Heaven intercepted your scroll because Sunday, this coming Sunday, is not just another date on your calendar. It's the day eternity has circled in blood-red ink for your destiny. Listen to me carefully, beloved. For months now, you've felt it. That stirring at 3 a.m. when the world sleeps, but your spirit stays vigilant. That inexplicable knowing that something massive is approaching your life like a spiritual freight train. You've tried to shake it off, tried to call it anxiety, tried to explain it away. But deep in the sacred chamber of your heart, you know this isn't nerves, this is prophecy in motion. Here's the shocking truth they don't want you to know. Sunday has been locked in heaven's vault, sealed with divine fingerprints, waiting for this exact moment when your pain has prepared you, your prayers have positioned you, and your perseverance has qualified you for what God has been orchestrating in secret. But here's what will shake you to your core if you miss this Sunday. If you let doubt convince you it's just another day, you might spend the next decade wondering what could have been. Because divine windows don't stay open forever, and this window has been creaking open for 70, 80, maybe 90 years of your faithful life. I can feel it in my spirit right now. Someone watching this message is trembling inside because their soul recognizes the sound of their name being called from the throne room of heaven. If that's you, if something deep inside you just stirred awake like a sleeping giant, drop 777 inches the comments right now. Don't think about it. Don't analyze it. Just obey that holy nudge. Because your faith expressed becomes your future activated. Before we journey deeper into this mystery together, I want to pause and honor every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're sowing seeds into a harvest that will feed hungry souls across this nation. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your time, your attention, your open heart, it all matters. And if this message is already resonating with your soul, go ahead and let faith lead your hand. But listen to me, chosen one. Sunday is standing at your door like a messenger from another realm. It's not knocking, it's waiting. Waiting for you to understand that your entire life, every tear you've cried, every prayer you've whispered, every night you've wondered if God forgot your address, it was all leading to this moment. By the end of this message, you'll understand why Sunday holds the key to unlock everything that's been locked in your bloodline. But first, you must prepare your heart for what heaven is about to reveal. Why do you sit alone in that kitchen at 3 a.m., staring at pill bottles lined up like soldiers, counting pennies to see if you can afford both your blood pressure medication and groceries this week? Why do your own children, the ones you sacrificed everything for, only call when they need something, their voices hurried and distant like you're an inconvenience in their busy lives? Why does that church pew, where you've sat faithfully for 40 years now, feel cold and empty, surrounded by faces that look through you like you're already gone? Listen to me, beloved. I know the weight you carry. I see you there wondering if anyone would even notice if you just stopped. The mailbox full of bills that multiply faster than you can pay them. The doctor appointments that eat up your social security check. The silence that screams louder than any noise ever could. You've watched your friends disappear one by one, some to nursing homes, some to heaven, some to children who moved them 3 states away and never visit. You've become invisible in a world that worships youth, forgotten in a society that discards what it thinks has no value. The grocery store clerk doesn't see you. The bank teller barely acknowledges you. Even your own reflection sometimes surprises you, like you're looking at a stranger who stole your life. But here's what's going to shock you to your core. Here's the truth that will shatter every lie you've believed about your current season. This pain you're carrying, it's not punishment, it's prophecy. Every sleepless night you've endured, Every tear you've cried in secret, every moment you felt forgotten by the world, heaven has been watching, taking notes, preparing something so magnificent that it required this exact level of refinement, this precise amount of testing, this specific depth of surrender. You think God abandoned you in your golden years? Look at Joseph. Genesis 50 tells us he was thrown into prison at 30, forgotten for years while his dreams seemed to mock him from behind bars. But when Pharaoh needed someone to save Egypt from 7 years of famine, who did God choose? The forgotten prisoner. The one who learned to trust when trusting made no sense. You think you're too old for God to use you now? Moses was 80 years old, 80 when God called him from that burning bush. Exodus 7:7 tells us plainly. Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron 83 when they spoke to Pharaoh. While the world wanted to put him in a retirement home, God was handing him the assignment of a lifetime liberating an entire nation. You think your best days are behind you? Anna the prophetess was 84 years old when she finally saw the Christ child in Luke 2:36. 84. She'd been waiting, praying, believing in that temple for decades, while everyone probably thought she was just a sweet old lady who'd lost her mind. But when baby Jesus walked through those doors, she was the first to proclaim redemption to all who looked for it in Jerusalem. Do you see the pattern here? Do you understand what God is trying to tell you? Your loneliness hasn't been abandonment, it's been appointment. Your silence hasn't been emptiness, it's been preparation. Your pain hasn't been pointless, it's been positioning you for something so powerful that the enemy has been working overtime to convince you it's over. But it's not over. It's just beginning. Every morning you wake up wondering why you're still here. God is whispering the same answer. Because I'm not finished with you yet. Every night you lie in that bed feeling forgotten, heaven is declaring over you, the best is yet to come. Every moment you feel invisible to the world, you're becoming more visible to eternity. This Sunday, this coming Sunday, is not just another date circled on your calendar. It's your divine checkpoint. The moment when delay transforms into delivery, when silence breaks into song, when abandonment reveals itself as appointment. Delay is not denial, beloved. Silence is not abandonment. This Sunday is your divine checkpoint. Right now, as these words wash over your weary soul, something is stirring in the spiritual realm. Can you feel it? That flutter in your chest that you haven't felt in years, that spark of hope trying to ignite in your spirit. That's not your imagination. That's prophecy knocking on the door of your heart. For too long you've been living as a survivor when God created you to be a conqueror. You've been accepting scraps when heaven has prepared a feast. You've been whispering when God gave you a voice that can move mountains. You've been hiding when this generation desperately needs what only someone with your scars, your wisdom, your tested faith can give them. Your gray hair isn't a sign of decline, it's a crown of glory. Your wrinkles aren't marks of deterioration, they're etchings of endurance. Your slower steps aren't weakness, they're the measured pace of someone who's learned that God's timing is perfect, even when it's painful. If you're sitting there right now feeling the weight of these words in your bones, if something deep inside you is trembling with recognition, I need you to do something. Don't just listen, participate. In the comments below, type out your deepest pain, not for pity, but for power. Because when God's chosen ones unite their burdens, miracles multiply. Let this community surround you with prayer. Let us carry what you've been carrying alone. Because what I'm about to reveal next will show you exactly why every tear you've shed has been collected in heaven's bottles, and why this Sunday, everything changes. Beloved, let me tell you something that will shatter everything you thought you knew about time itself. There are two kinds of time operating in this universe, and most people live their entire lives never understanding the difference. The first is what the Greeks called Kronos, tick-tock time, clock time, calendar time, the relentless march of seconds, minutes, hours that ages your body and counts down your days. Kronos is the time that makes you feel like you're running out, like your best years are behind you, like Sunday is just another box to check off before Monday arrives with its familiar burdens. But then there's Kairos time, God's time, divine time, the fullness of time when heaven breaks into your earthly moment and changes everything in an instant. Kairos doesn't tick on your wristwatch. It thunders in your chest. It doesn't count minutes, it creates miracles. And this Sunday? This isn't Kronos, chosen one. This is pure Chairos. Think about it. Why have you been waking up at ungodly hours lately? Why does your spirit feel like it's on high alert? Why do you catch yourself staring out the window, sensing something approaching that your mind can't calculate but your soul recognizes? Because heaven's alarm clock has been quietly ticking toward this day for longer than you realize. But here's what will stop your heart. Your entire life hasn't been random, it's been heaven arranging your Sunday appointment. Every rejection that redirected your path, every door that slammed shut when you thought it should open, every delay that frustrated you, every season of silence that made you wonder if God had forgotten your name. It wasn't punishment, beloved. It was positioning. God wasn't withholding your breakthrough, He was synchronizing it. You think you're 75 years old and running out of time. Moses was 80 when God called him to deliver a nation. You think you're too broken after that divorce, that betrayal, that diagnosis. David was hiding in caves as a fugitive when heaven was preparing his throne. You think your dreams expired with your youth. Sarah was 99 when she gave birth to the promise that would bless all nations. Stop measuring your life by Kronos and start recognizing your Chairos. Listen to me carefully, and I need you to feel the weight of what I'm about to say. There has never been a Sunday like this one in the history of your bloodline. Not last Sunday, not next Sunday, this Sunday. Because divine timing isn't about convenience, it's about convergence. Every prayer you've ever whispered in desperation is converging on this day. Every tear you've cried in secret is flowing toward this moment. Every night you've lain awake wondering if your life matters is being answered this Sunday. The very atoms of the universe have been rearranging themselves to align with what God is about to release over your life. But here's the part that should terrify and thrill you simultaneously. Kairos moments don't announce themselves with trumpets. They whisper, they nudge, they require you to be spiritually alert, because if you miss them, they don't come back. Not in the same way, not with the same power. This is why your soul has been restless. This is why you can't shake the feeling that something monumental is approaching. Your spirit has been picking up frequencies from another realm. Heaven's broadcast preparing you for divine intervention. Jesus operated in Kairos time. When he said, "My hour has not yet come" in John 2-4, he wasn't checking his calendar. He was waiting for the exact moment when eternity would kiss time and miracles would explode into reality. And when his hour finally came, water turned to wine, storms obeyed his voice, and death released its prisoners. Your hour is Sunday. But I need to warn you about something that might save your destiny. The enemy knows what time it is, too. He's been working overtime to distract you, discourage you, make you think this is just another day. He's been whispering lies about your age, your worth, your relevance. Why? Because he remembers the last time heaven synchronized a moment like this in your life, and he's terrified of what happens when you step into your Kairos. That phone that won't stop ringing with drama. Those family members suddenly stirring up old conflicts. That unexpected bill that appeared out of nowhere. That health concern that's been nagging at you all week. None of it is coincidence. It's interference. Spiritual static, designed to keep you from hearing what God is about to whisper to you on Sunday. And yes, later in this message, I'm going to tell you exactly what that whisper will sound like, how to recognize it, and what to do the moment you hear it. But first, you need to understand why this Sunday carries the weight of decades. Think about the children of Israel at the Red Sea. For 400 years they had been slaves. Generation after generation lived and died in bondage. But then came one Kairos moment when God said, "Now." and the impossible became inevitable. The sea split. Freedom thundered across dry ground. Pharaoh's army drowned in the same waters that delivered God's people. That wasn't Kronos time, that was Chairos unleashed. Your Red Sea moment is this Sunday. The waters that have held you back for years are about to part. The enemies that have chased you into corners are about to be swallowed by divine justice. The freedom you've prayed for is about to become the ground you walk on. But here's the question that will haunt you if you don't answer it correctly. When your Kairos moment arrives, will you step into it, or will you let fear convince you to stay on the wrong side of your miracle? Because what I'm about to reveal next will show you exactly how to recognize heaven's whisper when it comes. You know what breaks my heart? It's the phone call I got last Tuesday from Margaret in Ohio. 83 years old, buried 3 husbands, raised 5 children who barely call anymore. She whispered through tears, "Pastor, I feel like God forgot about me. Every door I knock on slams shut. Every prayer feels like it hits the ceiling and bounces back empty." Margaret, if you're watching this, listen closely. God didn't forget you. He was forging you. Dear chosen one, let me ask you something that's going to cut deep into your soul. Why has your life felt like you're carrying a 1,000-pound weight on your chest? Why have the simplest decisions felt impossible? Why does it seem like everyone else got the easy path while you got the obstacle course from hell? Here's the shocking truth that will revolutionize how you see every struggle you've endured. You weren't being punished. You were being prepared. Think about this. When a master jeweler wants to create a diamond that will catch light from every angle, what does he do? Does he handle it gently? Does he whisper sweet words over the carbon? No. He subjects it to 2,200 degrees Fahrenheit and pressure so intense it would crush anything ordinary. For millions of years, that future diamond sits in darkness, under crushing weight, wondering if it will survive. But here's what that carbon doesn't know. The pressure isn't trying to destroy it. The pressure is transforming it into something so precious, so rare, so brilliant, that kings will fight wars to possess it. You've been in the pressure chamber, haven't you? That heart attack at 71 that made you question if God was calling you home. The divorce papers that arrived on your 60th wedding anniversary. The children who promised they'd visit but never showed. The savings account that drained faster than you could refill it. The diagnosis that came with words like terminal and months. Every single blow felt personal, didn't it? Like the universe had your address and was targeting you specifically. You lay awake at 3 a.m. asking the same questions. God, what did I do wrong? Why won't you answer my prayers? Have I become invisible to you? But what if I told you something that would change everything? What if those weren't attacks on your destiny but investments in it? Look at Joseph, 17 years old with dreams bigger than his brothers' small minds could handle. Genesis 37 tells us his own family threw him into a pit. His own blood sold him into slavery. For 13 years. Joseph sat in prisons wondering if God had made a mistake. Every sunrise brought the same question. Lord, did you forget the dreams you gave me? But here's what Joseph couldn't see from his cell. Every betrayal was building his character. Every injustice was developing his compassion. Every year of waiting was preparing him to save nations. When Pharaoh finally called for him, Joseph didn't just get a job, he got authority over the entire Egyptian economy. Genesis 41-40 records Pharaoh's words. You shall be in charge of my palace, and all my people are to submit to your orders, from the pit to the palace. But first, the pressure. You think your struggles disqualified you. They qualified you. You think your scars make you damaged goods. They make you dangerous to the darkness. Every tear you've cried in secret has been collected in heaven's bottles. Psalm 56:8 promises, You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. But here's where it gets personal. Here's where your story intersects with Sunday's promise. That crushing weight you've carried, the loneliness after your spouse passed, The humiliation when the bank foreclosed, the shame when your children chose sides in the divorce that wasn't random suffering. That was strategic preparation. Think about wine. The sweetest, most expensive wine comes from grapes that have been crushed completely, not bruised, not damaged, obliterated, every cell wall broken, every drop of juice extracted through violent pressure. But from that crushing comes something that grows more valuable with time, something that makes celebrations meaningful, something that brings joy to others. Your crushing wasn't your ending, it was your beginning. Every senior saint watching this message who has wondered why life had to be so hard, why your golden years felt more like bronze, why retirement came with more problems than peace, listen to me with your spirit, not just your ears. The pressure you've endured wasn't heaven's punishment. It was heaven's preparation for your Sunday unveiling. You see, God couldn't trust just anyone with what he's about to release through you. He needed someone who had been tested by fire and came out singing. He needed someone who had walked through the valley of the shadow of death and learned that even there, he was with you. He needed someone whose faith didn't depend on circumstances, because circumstances had tried to kill you and failed. That's why you're still here. That's why your heart is still beating. That's why you're watching this message right now, instead of lying in some cemetery with a headstone marking the year you gave up. You didn't survive by accident. You survived by assignment. But here's what's going to shock you. Every pressure point in your life has been preparing you for authority. Every place you've been crushed has been creating capacity. Every wound has been developing wisdom that this generation desperately needs. Moses was 80 years old when God called him from the burning bush. 80. The world would have put him in a nursing home, but God put a staff in his hand and said, "Now you're ready to split seas and lead nations." Your age isn't your limitation, it's your liberation. Your scars aren't your shame, they're your credentials. Your story isn't your setback, it's your setup for Sunday's breakthrough. Right now, I need you to stand up wherever you are. I don't care if you're in your wheelchair, if your knees hurt, if people are watching. Stand up in your spirit if you can't stand up in your body. Look in the mirror of your soul and declare with everything you've got, "I am still standing." Say it again, louder. "I am still standing." Because that declaration isn't just words, it's warfare. It's you announcing to heaven and hell that every pressure designed to crush you only made you stronger. Every weight designed to bury you only planted you deeper. Every storm designed to sink you only taught you how to walk on water. The pressure chamber is closing, chosen one. Sunday is the day you step out transformed, transmuted from ordinary carbon into brilliant diamond, from crushed grapes into vintage wine. But there's something else you need to understand about why this transformation had to happen in secret, in darkness, away from the watching world. Chosen one, what if I told you that Sunday isn't just the end of another week, it's the end of an era? Your era of waiting, your era of wondering, your era of believing that God's promises were meant for everyone else but you. Listen to me carefully, because what I'm about to reveal will shatter every limitation you've accepted about your future. Sunday is not just a day on your calendar. Sunday is a doorway. And this doorway has been sealed, locked, and guarded by heaven itself until this exact moment when your faith has been tested enough, your character has been refined enough, and your heart has been prepared enough to walk through it. But here's what's going to shock you to your core. That restless stirring you've felt for months, that 3 a.m. awakening when your spirit feels electric but your mind can't understand why. That's not insomnia, dear one. That's the sound of heaven's locksmith turning the key. You see, Scripture tells us in Revelation 3-8, "Behold, I have set before you an open door, and no one can shut it." But what most people don't understand is this: the door doesn't stay open forever. Divine windows have divine timing, and your window is creaking open right now. Look at your life, beloved. Really look at it. How many nights have you whispered into your pillow, "God, when will it be my turn?" How many mornings have you stared at your reflection and wondered if your best days are behind you? How many times have you felt like you're running out of time while everyone else seems to be running into theirs? Stop right there. That ache in your chest, that's not despair, that's labor. Your pain has been the womb. This Sunday is the birth. For 70, 80, maybe 90 years, you've been in gestation. Every closed door was developing something inside you. Every betrayal was strengthening your spiritual muscles. Every financial struggle was teaching you to depend on heaven's economy, not Wall Street's. Every lonely night was creating capacity in your heart for the intimacy with God that's about to overwhelm you. Think about Moses. This man spent 40 years thinking he was somebody in Pharaoh's palace. Then 40 years thinking he was nobody in the wilderness. But at 80 years old, 80, God met him at a burning bush and said, "Now you're ready." Ready for what? To deliver an entire nation, to part the Red Sea, to write the 10 Commandments. His greatest chapter began when the world would have written him off. But here's where it gets personal for you. Here's where theory becomes your testimony. That dream you buried 20 years ago, it wasn't dead, it was dormant. That calling you thought you missed, you didn't miss it, you were being prepared for it. That vision that seemed too big for your circumstances are about to bow to your calling. Sunday is the day the veil gets pulled back. Isaiah 25:7 declares, "He will destroy on this mountain the shroud that enfolds all peoples, the sheet that covers all nations." The shroud of delay is being lifted. The sheet that's covered your destiny is being pulled away. And what's been hidden in the secret place is about to be revealed in the public square. But I need to tell you something that might terrify you. This doorway that's opening, it's not just an entrance, it's also an exit. An exit from the version of yourself that settled for survival instead of revival. An exit from the identity that said, maybe someday instead of by faith today. An exit from the mindset that counted your years instead of counting your victories. You cannot carry your old self through this new door. The doorway is too narrow for baggage, too holy for hesitation, too urgent for "I'll think about it." Something small you do this Sunday will trigger something massive. I'm going to show you exactly what it is before we close, but first you need to understand the weight of this moment. Every patriarch in Scripture had a doorway moment. Abraham leaving Ur, Jacob wrestling with the angel, David being anointed while tending sheep, Joseph being released from prison to stand before Pharaoh. In each case, everything before that moment was preparation. Everything after was manifestation. Your preparation season is ending. Your manifestation season is beginning. But here's what breaks my heart and what should create urgency in your spirit right now. I've watched too many chosen ones stand at the threshold of their breakthrough and turn away because the door didn't look like what they expected. They wanted a golden gate, but God gave them a servant's entrance. They wanted trumpets and fanfare, but heaven moved in holy whispers. Don't you dare miss your moment, because it comes wrapped in humility instead of hype. The curtain is lifting, chosen one. After the longest night of your soul, the sunrise is breaking. That weight you've carried, the weight of unfulfilled promises, unfinished prayers, unmanifested dreams, it's about to become the wings that carry you into your next dimension. But here's the question that will determine whether you soar or stay grounded. When Sunday presents you with your doorway moment, will you have the courage to step through it, even if you can't see what's on the other side? Because what's waiting for you in the mystery of that threshold will either make you or break you. And the choice you make this Sunday will echo through the rest of your days on this earth. Are you ready to discover what that choice is going to be? Listen to me carefully, chosen one. Sunday is not coming to entertain you, it's coming to transform you. But transformation requires preparation, and preparation demands specific action. What I'm about to give you are not suggestions, they are sacred orders from the throne room of heaven itself. You see, most people stumble into their destiny moments completely unprepared. They're distracted, scattered, their spiritual ears clogged with the noise of a world that doesn't understand divine timing. But you who have been marked, you who have been called, you will not make that mistake. Because I'm about to equip you with 3 divine instructions that will position you to receive everything God has been preparing to release. Instruction 1. Protect your peace. Silence the noise. Beloved, your peace is not a luxury on Sunday, it's your spiritual antenna. When God whispers destiny-altering words, He doesn't shout over chaos. He speaks into stillness. But here's what breaks my heart. I see too many of God's chosen ones sabotaging their breakthrough moments by filling their sacred space with distraction. You cannot scroll through social media and expect to hear heaven. You cannot have the television blaring and expect to catch divine whispers. You cannot fill your mind with other people's drama and expect to receive your own deliverance. Psalm 46:10 commands us, "Be still and know that I am God." That stillness isn't optional, it's operational. It's how heaven's communication system works. Think about Elijah in that cave on Mount Horeb. First came the mighty wind that tore the mountains apart, but God wasn't in the wind. Then came the earthquake that shook the earth, but God wasn't in the earthquake. Then came the fire that consumed everything in sight, but God wasn't in the fire. But after all the noise, after all the chaos, came a still small voice. And that's where God was. In the whisper, in the stillness, in the sacred silence that most people are too distracted to enter. On Sunday, you must become unreachable to everything except heaven. Turn off your phone. Disconnect from the internet. Tell your family you're in a divine appointment, because what God wants to download into your spirit cannot compete with Netflix notifications and text message alerts. Your breakthrough is hiding in the silence, and silence is a discipline most people are too weak to practice. Instruction 2. Watch for strange confirmations, dreams, numbers, phone calls. Now listen to this carefully, because what I'm about to tell you might sound mystical, but it's more real than the ground you're standing on. When God is about to move in your life, He doesn't just work through ordinary channels. He begins to speak through supernatural confirmations that make the hair on your arms stand up and your spirit tremble with recognition. You might wake up from a dream so vivid, so specific, that you can still feel it in your bones hours later. Don't dismiss it. Write it down. God spoke to Joseph through dreams and positioned him to save nations. He spoke to Daniel through visions and gave him influence over kingdoms. Your dreams on Sunday might carry blueprints for your breakthrough. You might keep seeing the same numbers everywhere, on clocks, on receipts, on license plates. These aren't coincidences, beloved. They're divine signatures. When God wants your attention, He'll use whatever language He needs to reach you. Numbers have meanings in heaven's dictionary, and Sunday might be the day you learn to read God's numeric language. You might get unexpected phone calls from people you haven't heard from in years, offering opportunities that seem too perfectly timed to be random. Don't you dare call it luck. That's God moving human pieces on His chessboard, positioning you for divine appointments you didn't even know you needed. The prophet Isaiah declared in chapter 55, verse 11, "My word shall not return to me void, but it shall accomplish what I please." When God speaks through these strange confirmations, His word is accomplishing something specific in your life. Your job isn't to understand it all. Your job is to recognize it, receive it, and respond to it. Instruction 3. Obey the first whisper, even if it feels small. Here's where most chosen ones miss their moment of breakthrough. They're waiting for thunderclaps when God is speaking in whispers. They want burning bushes when He's moving through gentle nudges. They expect earthquakes when He's working through small steps of obedience. Sunday might whisper to you, call that person you've been avoiding. It might seem insignificant, but that phone call could unlock a door that's been sealed for decades. Sunday might nudge you, take that route you never take. It might feel random, but that detour could lead to a divine appointment that changes everything. Sunday might prompt you, give that amount you're uncomfortable giving. It might stretch your faith, but that act of obedience could trigger a financial breakthrough you've been praying for. Listen to me, one whisper can shift a decade, and Sunday will carry that whisper. Jesus said in John 10:27, "My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." But notice the order. First you hear, then you follow. Too many people want to understand before they obey. But faith moves on partial information. Faith acts on whispered instructions. Faith obeys the first nudge, not the 10th confirmation. When that first whisper comes on Sunday, and it will come, don't negotiate with it. Don't rationalize it away. Don't wait for a louder voice. The first whisper carries the purest signal from heaven. Every delay in obedience creates static in the spiritual communication channel. Chosen one, I need you to understand the urgency of this moment. Sunday isn't just another day in your week. It's a divine appointment that's been scheduled in eternity. The instructions I've given you aren't suggestions you can take or leave. They're divine protocols that will determine whether you experience breakthrough or remain in the wilderness of almost. Right now, I want you to do something that will anchor your faith and declare your readiness. In the comments below, write down Sunday's date. Not tomorrow, not when you feel like it. Right now. When you write that date, you're making a covenant with heaven that you're prepared to receive what God has prepared to give. But as I prepare to reveal what Sunday is truly designed to accomplish in your life, you must understand that these instructions are just the beginning, because what God has hidden in Sunday's timeline will shatter every limitation that's held your family captive for generations. Listen to me, chosen one. I need you to go back with me, back to that night when everything fell apart, when the doctor's words echoed in that sterile hallway, when the phone rang at 2 a.m. with news that shattered your world, when you buried the dream you thought would carry you through your golden years. Remember that morning when you stared at the empty chair across the breakfast table, the one your spouse of 43 years would never fill again. Remember the betrayal that cut so deep you wondered if your heart would ever beat normally again. Remember the financial collapse that left you eating soup from a can, wondering if God had forgotten your address. You remember, don't you? The nights you wept so hard your pillow was soaked with tears, heaven collected in golden bottles. The mornings you couldn't get out of bed because the weight of disappointment pressed down on your chest like a 1,000-pound stone. The afternoons you sat by the window, watching life happen to other people, while yours felt frozen in time. But here's what breaks my heart, and here's what should set your soul on fire through every single valley, through every dark night of the soul, through every moment when giving up would have been easier than taking another breath. You're still here. You survived the divorce that was supposed to destroy you. You outlasted the depression that whispered lies about your worth. You endured the loneliness that tried to convince you that you were forgotten. You weathered financial storms that should have broken you. You walked through health scares that should have claimed you. And yet you are still here, still breathing, still believing, still chosen. And Sunday is the proof. Do you understand what this means? Do you grasp the magnitude of what I'm telling you? You have been walking through your own wilderness for decades, and Sunday is your Jordan River. You have been buried alive under circumstances that screamed it's over, but Sunday is your resurrection morning. Think about Saul on the Damascus road. Acts 9 tells us he was breathing out murderous threats against the Lord's disciples, breathing out death. But in one blinding moment, one divine interruption, Saul became Paul. The persecutor became the proclaimer. The enemy became the evangelist. Not gradually, instantly, completely, permanently. That same power that transformed Saul in a moment is hovering over your Sunday. That same divine lightning that split history in half is crackling in the atmosphere around your life right now. You feel it, don't you? That electricity in your spirit that makes you know something monumental is approaching. But here's what will shake you to your very foundation. Every attack you've endured wasn't random. Every setback wasn't accidental. Every closed door wasn't rejection. It was preparation. Hell saw what heaven had planted in you before you were born, and it has been trying to abort your divine destiny for decades. The enemy knew that if you ever discovered who you really are, if you ever stepped into the fullness of your calling, his reign of terror in your bloodline would be over. So he sent betrayal to make you build walls. He sent poverty to make you focus on survival instead of significance. He sent sickness to make you forget you carry healing in your very DNA. But every weapon forged against you has failed. Isaiah 54:17 declares, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Not some weapons, not most weapons, no weapon." Every scheme, every plot, every attack designed to take you out has crashed against the wall of God's protection over your life. You think you've been barely surviving. No, you have been strategically preserved for this moment when heaven declares, "Now is your time." Look at Lazarus in John 11, 4 days dead. 4 days of people saying it's too late. 4 days of hopelessness settling like dust over the situation. But Jesus stood at that tomb and spoke 2 words that shattered death itself. Come forth. This Sunday, beloved, Jesus is standing at the tomb of every dead dream, every buried hope, every promise that seems to have expired, and he's calling your name. Come forth. Come out of the grave of disappointment. Come out of the tomb of it's too late. Come out of the burial clothes of what others said about your future. This Sunday is the resurrection of you, the version of you that hell tried to bury but couldn't. The you that carries anointing in your laugh lines. The you that speaks with authority earned through decades of trusting God in the dark. The you that moves mountains with prayers seasoned by 70, 80, 90 years of knowing his faithfulness. Your resurrection isn't coming, chosen one. It's here. It's now. It's this Sunday when heaven pulls back the stone that's been covering your true identity and says to a watching world, "Behold what I have preserved." Every person who counted you out will witness your comeback. Every voice that said you were finished will hear your victory song. Every circumstance that declared game over will watch you step into the game of your life. But this resurrection requires your participation. Martha had to believe before she saw. The disciples had to roll away the stone. Lazarus had to walk out of those grave clothes. What grave clothes are you wearing? What burial shrouds of defeat, disappointment, and delay have been wrapped around your vision? This Sunday, you don't just attend church, you become the living testimony that God still raises the dead. The question that will determine whether you walk in resurrection power or remain in the tomb of what was is this. Will you believe that your Sunday is not just another day on the calendar, but the appointed time when heaven demonstrates that it's never too late for God to do something extraordinary through you? Because at the very end of this message, I'm going to guide you into a declaration that will seal this Sunday forever in your spirit. Words that will unlock every chain and open every door that's been waiting for your voice of faith. There are moments when heaven speaks in whispers that shake the earth. Sunday is such a moment. You know, chosen one, your entire life has been like sitting in a grand theater, watching dress rehearsals from the back row. Scene after scene, act after act, you've watched others step into their spotlight while you remained in the shadows, wondering when your moment would come. The curtain has risen and fallen on decades of your faithful service, your quiet prayers, your steadfast belief, but Sunday, this coming Sunday, is when the real performance begins. And you're not in the audience anymore. You're center stage. But let me ask you something that might cut deep into your soul. How many decades have you whispered prayers into what felt like an empty cathedral? How many times have you fallen to your knees at 3 a.m., crying out to a God who seemed to have his phone on silent? How many sleepless nights have you spent wondering if your voice even reaches the throne room, or if it just echoes off your bedroom ceiling like a lonely bird trapped in a cage? I see you there, sitting with tears already forming in the corners of your eyes, because someone finally understands the weight you've carried, the crushing silence that followed your most desperate prayers, the feeling that maybe, just maybe, God has a special filing cabinet marked later, where he stores the prayers of people like you. You've served faithfully for 70, 80, 90 years. You've tithed when you couldn't afford to. You've forgiven when forgiveness felt impossible. You've loved when love was thrown back in your face like cold water. And through it all, you've whispered the same question into the darkness. God, are you even listening? Here's what will shock you to your very core. The silence wasn't absence. The silence was heaven holding its breath until Sunday. Every unanswered prayer wasn't ignored, it was invested. Every tear you cried in secret wasn't wasted. It was collected in golden bowls before the throne of the Almighty. Revelation 8-4 tells us that the smoke of the incense, together with the prayers of God's people, went up before God from the angel's hand. Your prayers didn't disappear into the void. They've been accumulating compound interest in heaven's bank for decades. But why the wait? Why the silence? Why does Sunday matter when Thursday felt the same as Tuesday, and Monday blended into Saturday in an endless loop of ordinary days? Because God doesn't work on your timeline, He works on His Kairos time. The Greek word Kairos doesn't mean chronological time like the ticking of your bedroom clock. It means the appointed time, the fullness of time, the moment when heaven and earth collide with surgical precision. Jesus understood Kairos time. When his mother asked him to turn water into wine at the wedding in Cana, he said, "My time has not yet come." But when his Kairos moment arrived, he didn't just perform a miracle, he announced his divinity. John 2:11 says it was the first of his signs, and his disciples believed in him. Your Kairos moment is Sunday. Think about Moses. For 40 years, he wandered in the wilderness, watching sheep while his people suffered in Egypt. 40 years of feeling forgotten, irrelevant, washed up. Can you imagine the nights he stared at the desert sky, wondering if the burning bush had been his imagination? But when Kairos time struck, when God called him at age 80, those 40 years of silence transformed into the foundation for the greatest liberation in human history. Exodus 7-7 records the stunning truth. Moses was 80 years old, and Aaron 83 when they spoke to Pharaoh. 80 years old, the world would have put him in a nursing home, but God was just getting started with him. You think you're too old. You think your moment has passed. Moses split the Red Sea at 80. Sarah gave birth to nations at 90. Anna, the prophetess, recognized the Messiah at 84 after decades of waiting in the temple. Your birth certificate is not your limitation, your obedience is your activation. But here's where Sunday becomes personal, where this message stops being theory and starts being your reality. Something has been stirring in your spirit lately, hasn't it? You've been having dreams that feel more real than your waking hours. You've been sensing shifts in the atmosphere that your logical mind can't explain. You've been feeling a restlessness that has nothing to do with insomnia and everything to do with divine preparation. That's not your imagination running wild. That's heaven preparing you for your unveiling. The enemy has been working overtime to convince you that these stirrings are just the side effects of growing older, that the dreams are just your mind processing old memories, that the spiritual sensitivity is just emotional instability. But I'm here to tell you that every demonic whisper trying to diminish what you're feeling is proof that hell recognizes what heaven is about to unveil. Why do you think the attacks on your peace have intensified lately? Why do you think doubt has been screaming louder than faith? Why do you think people you've loved for decades suddenly seem distant or dismissive? Because the enemy knows what's coming on Sunday, and he's terrified. Here's the prophetic word that's burning in my spirit right now. You are not fading into the background of your own story. You are being positioned for the grand finale. The curtain is about to rise on the performance you've been rehearsing your entire life. Every trial was blocking practice. Every disappointment was character development. Every season of waiting was you learning your lines. Sunday is opening night, but I need to ask you something that requires brutal honesty. Are you ready to step into the spotlight, or are you going to let fear convince you to remain in the shadows? Are you going to trust that the God who sustained you through decades of dress rehearsals knows exactly when to raise the curtain on your destiny? If something deep in your spirit is confirming these words, If you feel that holy trembling that comes when truth meets your soul, type "I will not miss my unveiling" in the comments right now. Don't hesitate, don't second guess. Let heaven know you're ready to step from rehearsal into reality. Because what happens next will determine whether you spend Sunday as a spectator of your own destiny or as the star of the show God wrote specifically for you. Chosen one, I need you to stop right where you are and listen to what I'm about to tell you. Because what you've called your greatest losses, what you've mourned as your deepest defeats, what you've buried as your permanent disappointments, they weren't endings at all. They were receipts. You heard me right. Receipts. Every betrayal that left you bleeding, every door that slammed in your face when you deserved to walk through, every promise that was broken, every dream that was stolen, every year you gave to people who gave you nothing back. Heaven has been keeping meticulous records. And this Sunday, the books are being balanced. Let me paint you a picture that will shatter everything you thought you knew about divine justice. Picture the Supreme Court of Heaven. The gavel has been raised for decades over your case. Evidence has been presented. Testimonies have been heard. Angels have served as witnesses to every tear you've cried in secret, every prayer you've whispered through gritted teeth, every moment you chose faith when logic screamed at you to quit. And now, this Sunday, the verdict is coming down. But here's what will shock you to your core. You weren't the defendant in this cosmic courtroom. You were the plaintiff. Every injustice you endured was building a case. Every unfair treatment was adding to your divine compensation package. Every time someone said you'd never amount to anything, heaven was calculating the interest on what you were owed. Isaiah 61:7 declares with thunderous authority, "Instead of your shame, you will receive a double portion, and instead of disgrace, you will rejoice in your inheritance. And so you will inherit a double portion in your land, and everlasting joy will be yours." Double portion, not just restoration, multiplication, not just getting back what was taken, receiving more than you ever lost. You think that marriage that ended after 37 years was just heartbreak? No, beloved. That was qualifying you for a love so pure, so divine, that it will make you grateful for every tear you cried waiting for it. You think that job you lost at 62 was just age discrimination? No, chosen one. That was God clearing the path for an opportunity so perfectly suited to your gifts that you'll wonder why you ever settled for less. You think those children who stopped calling, who forgot your birthday, who made you feel invisible in your own family, you think that was just ingratitude? No, dear soul. That was heaven preparing to surround you with spiritual sons and daughters who will honor your wisdom and treasure your presence like the precious gift you are. But here's where the enemy has been playing his cruelest trick on your mind. He's convinced you that your losses were evidence of God's absence, that your struggles proved you weren't favored, that your pain meant you were forgotten. But what if I told you that every single wound was actually evidence of your worth? What if every attack was proof that hell recognized the treasure you carried before you did? The Bible tells us in Job 42:10. After Job had prayed for his friends, the Lord restored his fortunes and gave him twice as much as he had before. Twice as much. Job lost everything: his children, his wealth, his health, his reputation. But when God's reversal came, it didn't just restore, it multiplied. 7 more children, double the livestock, twice the wealth. And here's what breaks my heart with joy, the Bible says. Job lived 140 more years after his restoration. 140 years. This man who thought his story was over discovered it was just beginning. That's you right now, beloved. You think your story is winding down, but heaven is saying it's about to wind up in ways that will leave your family speechless, your community amazed, and your enemies confused. But let me ask you something that's going to cut deep into your soul. How long are you going to let the enemy convince you that your losses were permanent? How long are you going to wear your disappointments like chains when God is offering you a crown? How long are you going to speak defeat over your life when heaven has already written victory in your file? This Sunday isn't just another day on your calendar, it's payback day in the courts of heaven. Every person who underestimated you because of your age is about to witness your promotion. Every doctor who wrote you off is about to see your healing. Every family member who made you feel like a burden is about to realize they were in the presence of blessing and didn't recognize it. Psalm 126, 1-2 captures it perfectly. When the Lord restored the fortunes of Zion, we were like those who dreamed. Our mouths were filled with laughter, our tongues with songs of joy. Like those who dreamed. That's how sudden, how shocking, how beautiful your reversal is going to be. People will rub their eyes and wonder if they're seeing things correctly. Is that really the same person who was struggling just months ago? Is that really the same family we wrote off? Is that really the same situation we thought was hopeless? Yes, Island. Because you serve the God of the impossible, the God of the turnaround, the God who makes all things new, including you. Right now, as I speak these words, there are blessings being packaged in heaven's warehouse with your name on them. There are opportunities being wrapped with your address. There are relationships being prepared for your arrival. There are financial breakthroughs being calculated to the exact penny you need. There are health miracles being customized to your specific condition. And this Sunday, this sacred, appointed, divinely orchestrated Sunday, is Delivery Day. But before we close, I will tell you the one act of faith that can trigger your reversal on Sunday. One simple declaration that will signal heaven you're ready to receive what's been prepared for you. But first, I need you to do something that might feel vulnerable but will be powerful. In the comments below, I want you to name your biggest loss, the thing that still makes your chest tight when you think about it, the disappointment that shaped your story. Type these 5 words after it. God will reverse this. Don't just think it, declare it, because your faith expressed becomes your future activated. The courtroom of heaven is in session, chosen one. The evidence has been heard, the deliberation is over, and the verdict, complete and total reversal in your favor. But are you ready to collect what's rightfully yours? But before Sunday can reshape your future, you need to understand what it's breaking you free from. Close your eyes for a moment and travel back with me, back through the corridors of your bloodline, back through generations of whispered prayers and silent suffering. Can you see her, your great-grandmother, kneeling on that cold wooden floor in 1932, tears streaming down her weathered cheeks as she begged God to break the poverty that had stalked her family like a hungry wolf? Can you hear him, your grandfather, standing in that empty kitchen in 1957, fists clenched, asking heaven why every man in his lineage seemed destined to fail, to drink, to disappear when life got hard? Chosen one, you carry their DNA. But you also carry their prayers. For decades, maybe centuries, your family tree has been marked by patterns that seem impossible to break. Financial struggle that visits every generation like clockwork. Depression that settles over your relatives like a fog that never lifts. Broken marriages that crumble under the weight of wounds nobody talks about. Health issues that steal breath, steal hope, steal time. You've watched it happen. You've lived it yourself. That moment when you realized you were walking the same painful path as your mother, making the same mistakes as your father, carrying the same burdens that broke your grandmother's back, and you've whispered the same desperate question into the darkness. God, is this all there is? Are we cursed? Here's what will shake you to your foundation. You weren't born to repeat their pain. You were born to end it. Look at Exodus 20:5, where God speaks of visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the 3rd and 4th generation. But read the very next verse. Beloved, Exodus 20:6 declares, He shows mercy unto thousands of generations of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thousands verses 4. The blessing always outweighs the curse when someone finally says, enough. You are that someone. Every night your ancestors cried themselves to sleep, they were depositing prayers into a heavenly account with your name on it. Every time they fell to their knees in desperation, They were building spiritual equity for a descendant they would never meet, but desperately hoped would rise. That descendant is sitting here right now, listening to my voice. This Sunday isn't just another day on your calendar. It's the day heaven has appointed for the great generational shift. It's the moment when the spiritual axe finally falls at the root of every family tree that's been poisoned by defeat, diseased by despair, dying from lack. But here's what terrifies the enemy about you specifically. You've survived everything that destroyed them. You're still standing when the statistics said you should have fallen. You're still believing when logic said you should have given up. You're still here when generational patterns said you should be gone. That's not luck. That's lineage. That's the accumulated prayers of grandmothers you never knew, flowing through your bloodstream like spiritual antibodies, keeping you alive for this exact moment. Think about Moses standing before Pharaoh. He wasn't just one man demanding freedom. He was 400 years of Hebrew prayers made flesh. He was every slave's whispered hope walking on two legs. When he opened his mouth, the cries of generations came pouring out, "Let my people go." This Sunday, you become the Moses of your family line. But let me ask you something that's going to cut deep. How many more generations will suffer because you were too afraid to step into your calling? How many more of your grandchildren will struggle with the same demons that tormented you because you decided to play it safe? How many more family reunions will be haunted by the same painful patterns because you chose comfort over courage? The weight of that responsibility should terrify you, but it should also ignite you. Because here's the shocking truth about bloodline breakers. They're never the perfect ones. They're never the ones who had it easy. They're the ones who got sick of watching their family bleed from the same old wounds. They're the ones who said, "If nobody else will stand up, I will." Look at your hands right now. Those hands that have wiped tears from your children's faces. Those hands that have worked jobs that broke your body to feed mouths that needed filling. Those hands that have been folded in prayer more nights than you can count. Those hands are about to break chains. This Sunday carries supernatural authority because it's been bathed in the blood of Jesus and soaked in the prayers of your ancestors. When you wake up that morning, you won't just be rising from your bed, you'll be rising as the answer to prayers that were prayed before you were even born. The addiction that's haunted your family for 3 generations stops with you. The poverty mindset that convinced your relatives they weren't worthy of abundance dies with you. The depression that whispered give up to every member of your bloodline gets silenced by your refusal to surrender. But here's the urgency that should grip your soul. This window won't stay open forever. Divine appointments have divine deadlines. The spiritual alignment that makes Sunday so powerful is temporary. Miss it, and you might wait another generation for heaven to line up the circumstances this perfectly again. Can you afford to wait? Can your children afford for you to wait? Can the grandchildren you haven't met yet afford for you to let fear win one more time? This Sunday, chains that have bound your family for decades will break through you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're positioned. Not because you're strong enough, but because the prayers of your ancestors have made you strong enough. The bloodline stops bleeding on Sunday. The curse stops spreading on Sunday. The pattern stops repeating on Sunday. But only if you pick up the axe. If you feel the weight of generational responsibility settling on your shoulders right now, if you understand that Sunday isn't just about your breakthrough, but your entire family's freedom, write these words in the comments with holy boldness. The chain breaks with me, because what happens next will determine whether your great-grandchildren thank God for your courage or curse the day you chose comfort over calling. Chosen one, something extraordinary is happening right now, and most people are walking right past it without a clue. But you're different. You've been selected to see what others miss, to hear what others ignore, to recognize the divine fingerprints on your ordinary Thursday afternoon. Have you been seeing 11:11 on every clock you glance at? Has 777 been stalking you through license plates, receipts, even the number of steps on your morning walk? Listen to me carefully. These aren't coincidences. They're coordinates. Heaven is dropping spiritual breadcrumbs, leading you straight to Sunday's appointed hour. But the enemy wants you to dismiss these signs as random. He wants you to roll your eyes and call it wishful thinking, because he knows something that will terrify you. When the chosen finally learn to read heaven's language, they become unstoppable. Numbers are God's mathematics, beloved. When Moses was 80 years old, not 79, not 81, God called him from the burning bush. When Jesus fed the 5,000, it wasn't 4,999. Divine timing operates on spiritual precision, and every repeated number you've been seeing is a countdown timer set by the Almighty himself. Look at your phone right now. What time is it? Did you just see those numbers 15 minutes ago somewhere else? That's not your mind playing tricks, that's heaven trying to get your attention before Sunday arrives. But numbers are just the beginning. How many of you have been having dreams so vivid they feel more real than your waking life? Dreams of doors opening, of flying, of conversations with people you've never met but somehow recognize. The prophet Joel declared, "I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your old men will dream dreams." Joel 2:28. God is downloading tomorrow's reality into tonight's visions. Write this down if you're experiencing it. You are receiving prophetic intel from the throne room of heaven. Your dreams aren't random neurons firing, they're divine dispatches preparing you for Sunday's unveiling. And what about those phone calls? The ones that come at the strangest hours from numbers you don't recognize, but when you answer, there's silence. Or maybe it's your old friend from 40 years ago, suddenly reaching out for no reason. Beloved, there are no random phone calls in a chosen one's life. Every ring, every connection, every unexpected voice is being orchestrated by invisible hands. Even more mysterious, have strangers been saying things to you that pierce straight through your soul? The cashier at the grocery store who looked you in the eye and said, "Big things are coming for you." The nurse at your doctor's appointment who whispered, "You have such peace about you." The child who ran up to you in the park and said, "My grandma's in heaven, and she says to tell you everything's gonna be okay." Stop dismissing these encounters as coincidence. 1 Kings 19:12 tells us God speaks in a gentle whisper, not thunder, not earthquakes, whispers through ordinary people in ordinary moments. That stranger who spoke life over you? They were heaven's messenger, and they didn't even know it. But here's what's going to shock you most. You've been feeling physically different lately, haven't you? Your sleep patterns have changed. You're waking up at 2:30 a.m., 3:33 a.m., 4:44 a.m. Those aren't bladder problems, beloved. Those are divine appointments with the Holy Spirit when the veil between heaven and earth is thinnest. Some of you have been experiencing unexplained energy surges, moments when you feel 20 years younger, followed by sudden need for rest. Your body is being recalibrated for what's coming. The same power that raised Christ from the dead is fine-tuning your temple for Sunday's supernatural download. And what about those moments when you're driving and suddenly take a different route home? Or when you're shopping and feel compelled to go down an aisle you never visit, only to bump into someone you haven't seen in decades? These aren't random impulses, they're divine GPS coordinates redirecting your steps toward destiny appointments. The most powerful sign of all is the one you probably haven't noticed: animals. Have you seen more birds lately? Cardinals appearing when you're praying, butterflies landing near you when you're contemplating major decisions, even your neighbor's dog acting different around you. Creation itself recognizes the shift in your spiritual atmosphere. Romans 8:19 declares, "Creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed." Every creature is sensing what's building toward Sunday. But don't dismiss the ordinary, this is crucial. Sunday will hide the extraordinary in what looks simple. The miracle might come disguised as a regular conversation, a normal letter in your mailbox, or an everyday moment that suddenly becomes sacred. Jesus entered Jerusalem on a donkey, not a stallion. God often wraps his greatest moves in humble packages. Here's the truth that will set you free. You are not imagining these signs. You are not losing your mind. You are not being overly spiritual. You are being prepared. Every supernatural signal is heaven's way of saying, "Get ready, chosen one." Sunday is almost here. The question burning in your spirit right now is this: what do I do with all these signs? How do I prepare my heart for what's coming? Stay with me until the very end, because I'm going to lead you in a prayer of activation that will unlock every signal you've been receiving and align your spirit with heaven's frequency for Sunday's appointed hour. But first, I need to know how many of you have been experiencing these supernatural signals. Share in the comments what signs you've been seeing. Don't hold back. Your testimony might be the confirmation another chosen one needs to hear. Because when the chosen ones begin to recognize the signs, Sunday's power becomes unstoppable. Beloved chosen one, as we reach the end of this sacred journey together, I need you to carry these eternal truths with you like precious stones in your heart. Remember this: Sunday is not just another day circled on your calendar. It's a divine appointment that has been waiting for you since before you took your first breath. Those supernatural signals you've been receiving, those 3 a.m. awakenings, those dreams that feel more real than reality they are, heaven's confirmation that your season of waiting is about to transform into your season of walking in supernatural purpose. Remember that every number sequence, every unexpected phone call, every stranger's prophetic words have been coordinates guiding you toward this moment. You haven't been imagining these signs. You haven't been overthinking or being too spiritual. You have been chosen to see what others miss because your spirit has been tuned to heaven's frequency. But most importantly, remember this truth that settles deeper than knowledge: you are never walking this path alone. Even when the road feels uncertain, even when doubt whispers lies in your ear, even when Sunday seems like just another day, the Creator of the universe is orchestrating every detail of your life behind the scenes. He's moving mountains you can't see, opening doors you haven't found yet, and preparing blessings you can't even imagine. And beyond God's faithful presence, you have something beautiful right here: a community of believers who understand your struggles, who recognize the signs you're seeing, and who are ready to stand with you in prayer. We're not just viewers on a screen. We're a spiritual family, connected by faith, bound together by hope, and united in the certainty that God still moves in miraculous ways. Let me ask you this final question, and let it resonate in the quiet chambers of your heart. When Sunday arrives, when that sacred door swings open, when heaven calls your name, will you be ready to answer? Will you step forward in faith? Or will you let fear convince you to stay where you are? Right now, wherever you are watching this, I want you to close your eyes and let me place my hand on your shoulder through these words. Feel the weight of God's love surrounding you as I pray over your life. Heavenly Father, I lift up every precious soul who has walked this journey with us tonight. Lord, you see their hearts. You know their struggles. You've counted every tear they've cried, and you've heard every prayer they've whispered in the darkness. You know the dreams they've buried, the hopes they've protected, and the faith they've held on to, even when everything around them seemed to crumble. God, I pray that you would silence every voice of doubt that has whispered, "You're not enough," or "It's too late." I pray that you would shatter every chain of fear that has held them back from stepping into their divine calling. Open their eyes to see the supernatural signals you've been sending. Tune their spirits to recognize your voice above all other voices. Father, bless their Sunday with your manifest presence. Let them feel you moving in ways they've never experienced before. Give them the courage to follow your lead, the wisdom to discern your direction, and the faith to trust your timing, even when they can't see the full picture. I pray for divine appointments, supernatural encounters, and breakthrough moments that will leave no doubt that you are actively working in their lives. Surround them with your protection, fill them with your peace, and flood their hearts with the unshakable knowing that they are loved, chosen, and destined for greatness in your kingdom. Lord, let Sunday be a turning point, not just in their circumstances, but in their confidence. Let them wake up Monday morning knowing beyond any doubt that they serve a God who keeps his promises, who never forgets his children, and who specializes in turning impossible situations into incredible testimonies. In the mighty name of Jesus, who conquered death so that we might live in victory, I seal this prayer over every life it touches. Amen. Now, beloved, I want to hear from you. In the comments below, share what supernatural signals you've been experiencing. Tell us how God has been speaking to you through numbers, dreams, or unexpected encounters. Don't hold back. Your testimony might be exactly what another chosen one needs to hear to confirm that they're not alone in this journey. Ask questions if you need prayer. Share your heart if you're struggling. This community is here to surround you with love and intercession, because that's what family does. We stand together, we pray together, and we celebrate together when breakthrough comes. And if this message has touched your spirit, if something deep inside you has been awakened tonight, please share this video with someone who needs to hear it. There's someone in your family, in your circle of friends, in your community who has been seeing the same signs, feeling the same stirrings, waiting for the same confirmation that Sunday holds something special for them too. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Thank you for opening your heart, for letting these words penetrate the sacred places of your soul, for being brave enough to believe that maybe, just maybe, this Sunday really is different. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and ring that notification bell. We're building something beautiful here, a community where faith grows, hope is restored, and destinies are fulfilled. Every week, we're diving deeper into God's heart for his chosen ones, and I don't want you to miss a single moment of what he's revealing. Remember, dear one, you are seen, you are known, you are loved, and you are never, ever alone. Sunday is coming, and heaven is ready to show you wonders you never imagined possible. Until we meet again, walk in the confidence of who you are, chosen, beloved, and divinely appointed for such a time as this. God bless you mightily, and may your Sunday be everything your heart has been believing for.